Welcome to Breaking Barriers with R&D, your direct line to Randy Dowdy and David Hula, here to help fellow farmers unlock the potential in their fields. Are you looking to implement best practices that maximize ROI? You've come to the right place. Real value, real yield, real ROI. Breaking Barriers with R&D starts now. Breaking Barriers is brought to you by the next generation of weed control, Liberty Ultra Herbicide from BASF. Learn more about the best Liberty yet at liberty-ultra.us.
Well, welcome to another episode of Breaking Barriers with R&D. Well, this time it's just the D side because Dowdy is out planting corn, as you could imagine. But just give you an update of what's happening in Charles City, Virginia. We've just got back from the Commodity Classic, and those that participated in the Commodity Classic, as well as their Total Acre grower clinic there in San Antonio. You know, we had a chance to visit with a lot of great sponsors, vendors, and for the grower clinic, ROI Biologicals was a big play. They were one of our diamond sponsors, and of course, John Deere was a diamond sponsor, and then we had the rest of them, like Brandt and Pioneer and many others, without going through the list. But then also, right after the grower clinic was the Commodity Classic. And for those that took advantage of that chance to visit with those vendors at the Classic, there's a lot of, I don't know that there was anything really earth-shaking new, but just reinforcement where to spend dollars. And, I had a chance to visit with many, participate in many booths. I visited the Pioneer booth, didn't have any working responsibility there. Of course, I had to go by the John Deere booth. I spent some time there at Mutiny. We did a little, FaceTime Live type event there with some Q&A with some of the participants. And then one of my greatest pleasures was spending time at the ETS, Environmental Tillage Systems booth there around the Soil Warrior. And, we're fortunate enough, we have a guest today, but before we get to that, just during the trade show and then the learning sessions, I had a chance to be in one of the learning sessions with Mr. Randy Dowdy. And we talked a little bit about Total Acre, but we also had a chance to open up to the audience about things that was on their mind. And, from a standpoint, it's just Q&A, and had some really good questions, of course, around fertility, talking about populations on corn, how to be more efficient with their dollars. And then, of course, talked about other management systems that we participate here. So what's going on in Virginia right now? We've been warm. We got back, we were in the 80s and close to 90 in San Antonio. And we got back here to Virginia, and the weather turned great, to the point where we were wet. We started to dry out a little bit. So our focus number one was our small grain. We went ahead and put some more nitrogen on our small grain. As we talked about, and this was one of the things that you heard a lot about at our grower clinic, whenever you're putting salt products on your crop, whether it's fertilizer, nitrogen on small grain, or potash for your corn or soybeans, kind of mix that with a little bit of humic acid. And we were doing top dressing their oats as well as their wheat, and putting anywhere from 20 to 60 pounds of nitrogen, adding some sulfur, of course some boron, of course some moly, but we added that humic acid, and we were applying a herbicide called Culex from Corteva to help on some broadleaf annuals. With that concoction, we had zero burn when we added the nutrients, black label zinc. But really more important focus is add that buffer some of those some of these salts. And then outside of that, when we finished doing the small, we started burning, getting ready for corn planting and trying to kill some of the cover crops, some of the summer or winter annuals, and finishing the line. I think we about closed the chapter on lineman applications. We made some applications Saturday, finished up at the Western Farm. Have a little bit more to clean up, just cleaning up the spot there where we dumped the pile of lime, and that's probably going to be about 2 tons. And then that chapter is going to be closed at Rimwood. And then, of course, we're working on the planter. I got that taken care of. Hopefully, I have that done this weekend. And then I can try to catch up with Mr. Dowdy, see if we can get some corn planting. But it is still a little bit cold for us in Virginia. Long range forecast. We got plenty of GDUs now, but we're going to start losing some next week. And then we'll gain and lose. So it's just a little bit early. Got a chance for some frost in 8 days, I believe I saw. So with that, that's just a little quick update. And what I'm really excited about is I mentioned I spent time at the Soul Warrior booth there at the Commodity Classic. Visit with some growers, talking about strip tilling in general, but then also me standing next to the Soul Warrior there. Then I could spend a little bit more time going over with growers on what we're doing with their machine here in Virginia. So Brent Berlin is our guest today. He is from the ETS, and I'd like to welcome him on the podcast with Breaking Barriers with R&D.
Hey, good morning, Randy and David. I see Randy's on, I think. So it's good to be here. And sorry I missed you at Commodity, but I'm glad you could be able to spend some time in our booth. So
yeah. Mr. Dowdy, how are you?
I'm good. Had a dang doctor's appointment this morning, and they say that I can keep on ticking. So I don't know that they got full control of that, but they said my vitals and all that garbage looks good, so I'm okay. If they would have checked my vitals this weekend, though, it'd probably been a little elevated.
Some of the phone calls you and I had one day, I can understand. So.
Yeah, it's just, David, it's just the age-old aggravation of farming. When technology works, you embrace it and you say, man, this is a good deal. When it don't work, it'll make Billy Graham cuss. And I can just tell you, very, very frustrating. But I can honestly say we do have a little more strip tilling to do. But I can honestly say that when Soul Warrior came down and Greg helped us get everything going on their 3-point, the edge system, there's no doubt about it. I didn't have any hiccups with their products, and they all worked as advertised. So Brent, you get a you get a pass on my frustration from this past weekend. It was not due to ETS or Soul Warrior for sure, but just the age-old stuff. Conditions are right, 85 degrees, collecting a lot of heat units fast. Corn, I'm gonna check it this morning. I should have checked it this 7 o'clock this morning, but I had a doctor's appointment. I'll check it soon today, and it wouldn't surprise me if it don't have if it's poking its head out of the ground this morning. Yesterday it was real close, and it wouldn't surprise me if it's not coming up. So we're running. Corn's in the dirt. We got a little bit of beans planted, and we still got a few more acres to go, but we're running. Well, let me put it this way: we were running. We've started the process.
Yeah. Also, the conversations we had this weekend was you said, Phil, this stuff is expensive nowadays. Being out of farming for a couple of years, or at least a year or so, fertilizer and inputs have gone up a little bit, Dowdy.
It just makes it, you wasn't making no money 2 years ago, so it's even worse now. Equipment cost is stupid, just absolute ridiculous. And input cost, I mean, seeds up $80, from what it was on a bag of corn seed. Fertilizer's stupid. It's up high simply because of the fact that they blaming it on oil prices now in the war. I mean, it's always something. We need Trump to understand that this is an election year. This is an election year, and he does not want to lose majority in the House and the Senate. And I can assure you, the farmer's bleeding cash. and their line of credit is extended. So it's not good. But they don't listen to me, David. They don't listen to what I got to say. I wish they did.
Yeah, we don't have that connection yet. If you could get Ms. Rollins or somebody to reach out to you, and I'm you're not watching the podcast by now. You know, we've been out plenty of times, so maybe they'll be wanting to get on it here soon. But yeah, well, Dowdy, um, while I was at the Commodity Classic, I had time to spend at the Soul Warrior booth, and just wanted to welcome Brent on the podcast with Breaking Barriers with R&D, and he couldn't make it out there. Brent, I don't know. It seems like whenever they have the classic, you find a good reason not to participate. What's up with that?
I tell you, that's one of my two favorite shows, and I hate not being able to get there. I was supposed to have surgery 2 weeks before, brand new surgery building. The operating room ventilation shut down the day of my surgery, so I had to reschedule it for 2 weeks later. So I miss seeing you guys and miss seeing everybody else out there. So,
Well, you were well represented though. And we were sitting there, while I was participating there at the booth, farmers were coming up, and I got talking about how I was first introduced to it. And you were previously employed with another group, and you and I had some relationships during your days with Pioneer, and then you moved to ETS, and I think he came and said, "Hey, Dave, we really got this machine. You need to give it a try." So I'm a strictly a no tiller or never tiller, and then when I start thinking about tillage, it's like I don't know, but you twist my arm just enough to make it start to give it a try.
yeah, and I'm sure glad that we did. So I remember coming out there when you hit 454. I was telling Barley that the other day, the story, and he didn't realize I'd been out there back then. So, and then I came back with ETS the next time, and it's been great ever since. So.
Well, I'm not happy about that decision process at all, because now you're competing in the irrigated strip till class, and that never used to be an issue. It pretty much was always Stephen Albrock in the irrigated conventional, and you were in the non-irrigated or never tilling, or not never, neither non-irrigated never till or irrigated limited till or whatever they call it. And now you're in my category, so that makes it much harder. So thanks. So I got Brent to blame for that. Appreciate it, Brent. Appreciate that.
Hey, anytime. I also want to poke the bear. So,
Well, considering poked.
well, David, getting you over to strip till was one thing, and then getting you to plant some soybeans with a strip till machine was my biggest achievement, I think, so far. So I hope that that's going to continue.
Yeah, well, yeah. Let's talk a little bit about that. Well, first, the running the strip till machine. I think, and when I talk to growers, and you can reinforce this because y'all been doing a lot of stuff there at Iowa State. Uh, Running the strip till, it gives you several things. It gives you a seed bed preparation where you're moving the residue out of the way. So these guys that are doing vertical tillage, they're just pushing residue into the seed zone. So we're moving the residue out of the way with the trash sweeps. Then we're incorporating fertilizer as we're doing it, and just making that good seed bed with fertilizer where we want it to be. And after doing that for a while, then we started impregnating other products in there. After that, when I was at Iowa State, we went and visited and spent some time with your cousins and saw where they had seeded soybeans with the Soul Warrior. And Dowdy always fussed at us at Ringwood about using a drill control spill. And then when we started thinking about running our beans through a Soul Warrior, that's a control spill in a band. But we finally gave it a try because of what I saw at your cousins, and I don't know how they all yielded, but ours didn't do awfully bad, Dowdy. They were in the 70s, and Barley even found some 90 bushel beans that way.
Yeah, and
That's crazy. Considering that when you do it that way, I'm sure spacing is not controlled, and I'm sure depth is not controlled. It just goes to show you the resilience of a soybean and how they can still yield. That's awesome.
So, Brent, and your cousins, they've been doing it for several years. How is it turning out for them?
So they were skeptical 7 years ago. I think it was the first time I got them to try it. And they added acres the next year and the next year. And for 5 years now, they've been doing 100% of their soybeans that way. And we have customers all across the US and Canada, up in Ontario and Quebec that do it. But Randy's right. It's kind of weird spacing. I mean, it's a six-inch wide strip basically, but there's no picket fence involved, but there's a lot of driven over fences. So there there's a lot more space between plants, so they bush out a lot more, and the row canopy is a lot quicker. And when you think about it, if you're doing that in a 30-inch strip or 30-inch row spacing, and you have a 6-inch wide strip twice, you're really down to a 20-inch bean, So it, agronomically, it works out really well. So, and last year, my cousin was in the 70 some bushel range, and that was right there with all his neighbors. So they planted with a regular planter. So,
in that song. Well, I know when barley did it first, our beans are painted green. We got that Renpro plus C treatment on there, and just green in color. And I think when we think about the fertilizer portion of it, we're incorporated in. We're using the 3 coulter system, and that's going somewhere around 3 to 4 inches deep. And we try to keep the speed up there so we can impregnate it pretty well in there. But when we did the soybeans, barley was trying to keep the same speed, but we saw some beans on top. So that was like driving us crazy. And I think you had said you're going to have some on top. You're going to have some too deep that are not going to show up. So you're just going to have to deal with those in the middle. But seeing those green beans on top was painful.
it is painful, and you can't hire anybody to go pick them up and put them down deeper. So I don't know what to do about that. But speaking of speed, we run 10 miles an hour when we're doing that. So we can cover with a 12-row machine 35 acres an hour, and you can fit 2 pro boxes in one tank. So you can go a long time without having to stop. So,
Yeah.
and we have put AMS in our other tanks sometimes, and we've seen good results from that. So we may make a practice out of that in the future. So,
Well, for us to go 10 mile an hour, I guess I'd have to 8RX 540 deers putting out, because that 8RX 410 just quite do it.
yeah, yeah, I'm sure they would get you one for a
Well,
fee.
For free. Who you kidding?
No, not
We
not free. I said fee.
No, I know. I'm telling you, I'm correcting you. When it comes to John Deere, I'm sure it's for free. Just tell them you
I
have
like the
extra.
way. Oh man. So Dowdy, when you were running that edge this year, I mean, I saw pictures that you shared, you sent me, in that you had some pretty good sized cover crop and you were running through there.
Oh yeah, it was knee high, a little better in places, and it's pretty thick. It had tillered well over the winter, and it got a little bigger than I wanted it to be for sure. But we got it was able to manage it. I had been through some waist high cover crop with the traditional machine that puts out dry fertilizer like you have, David, and I knew it could manage the residue. I just didn't know if we'd have to do 1 pass or 2, but we did it with 1. Now we did run the shank on the strip till unit on the 3-point hitch, and that is usual and customary in the southeast. It may be with a competitor strip till product, and that's really why I wanted to vet the edge on the 3-point hitch. We had run the traditional dry box, applicator with the strip till in the past, and it worked fine. But anytime that you're doing pull along or tag along pull type machine in the southeast, we just do things different here. We don't plant a lot of headlands. We got slope, we got terraces, we got all these things. And if we plant up and down the hill, man, it's gonna wash. It's gonna wash bad with our amount of rainfall. So we plant a cover crop normally, and we back up, line it up on 0 on the GPS and get it as close to the edge as we can, and we take off. And then we plant as close as we can to the end. We generally, unless it's a really flat field, do not plant headlands at all, because of that slope issue. But we had a cover crop out there, David, and it got a little big on us, and it was able to manage it. We did run a subsoiler shank. I think Greg measured it 2 or 3 times. We were running 12, 13 inches deep, with a couple of coulters behind it. We were prepared to run it again with just the coulters if it couldn't manage the residue. But what little bit of residue was left on top, the row cleaners on the planter was able to manage it no problem. Just slide those little root balls out of the way, and we didn't have to plant in the hole. I mean, everything's fine. I think some some videos airing or did on Ag Day and Farm Report maybe this past weekend of some of the finished product of the field, not the actual soil warrior running, but the conditions in which we were planting, where we had strip tilled. And I think you can see the amount of residue there in the field. Um, and we were talking about, closing system and just the whole planning process, but you could see, excuse me, the density of some of the cover crops in the field, and it did a good job. Didn't I didn't regret. We've always run, a competing product, either Firth or KMC in the past, and we were able to put out liquid with this one as well. So we put out some liquid fertilizer while we were strip tilling. We were set up to do that and had the saddle tanks on the tractor, and we were able to put out fertilizer while we were planting. And I think it did a great job. I can't complain.
Awesome. Well, Brent, while I was at the booth during the Commodity Classic, that
Very good day.
Did they?
Good morning, by the way.
Did you tell them to do a podcast and that you needed a free soda?
I need to.
In fields where weeds don't back down, farmers count on Liberty Ultra Herbicide by BASF. The Liberty Lock formulation delivers stronger coverage, improved uptake, and 20% better weed control. Clayt Anderson in North Loop, Nebraska can tell you the same.
Every post-pass we go in on soybeans, we spray Liberty on anything that we can, and it does everything that we need it to do.
That's Liberty Ultra Herbicide. Steady, trusted dependability. Hear more Ultramonials at libertyultramonials.com. Always read and follow label directions.
But Brent, while I was at the booth, y'all had a unique system there that was both liquid and dry. So, for growers that are viewing in on the podcast, and strip tilling might be something new, what kind of options do y'all offer for growers now?
So I know that you have a three dry bin system that's on a cart and the toolbars behind. Randy is running our edge row unit on a 3-point hitch, and you can either run off saddle tanks like he did for liquid, or you can pull behind anhydrous tank. You can pull behind a dry tank, or liquid tank, or a liquid tank. He's got the knife and shank on his. It's the same row unit you have. You have the coulters on yours. It's 4 bolts, and you can swap those out for each other. So we did send those to Randy. So if he did need to do something with the coulters, he could run those again. We have pure liquid machines that are just one big liquid tank, 2,200 gallons. And the machine you saw is brand new for us. We released it at Farm Progress last year, and it's got a 6-ton dry bin and then an 1,100 gallon liquid tank on it. So part of the genesis for that was you can plant soybeans and put some liquid pop-up on with it. And the rest was guys that want to put some urea down and some other concoction in the liquid tank to ship it in the spring. So really versatile system. If you have a dry system with up to 4 bins, we can put a 4th bin on. That 4th bin is often used for cover crop, or the middle bin on your machine. It's just slightly smaller. So you can put cover crop on with the system while you're putting your fertility down and doing your tillage. Sure. And as Randy said, it's really good at taking cover crop out as well. So,
well, and then you've also changed some of your like the baskets on the back. I mean, I saw several different configurations while we were at the Commodity Classic as well.
Yeah, I need to thank you for helping us vet the system. I think you have version 7, which is the final production version on your machine. So David has the first set of packer baskets, we're calling them, or their firming basket. So if you're going to plant soon after you've done your strip till, it gives you a firm seed bed. And we have a round bar, which is the most popular, just a standard basket with angled round bars. And then our third version was our original one, which has flat bars, and you have one that's removable, so you can leave a berm. It leaves a concave shape, so you can run any one of those. And again, we're thinking that that firming basket that you have this year, David, is going to be the ticket, because I think you ran those 3 different years in different variations, and version 7 is what's out now, and that's our final one. So,
hey, a lucky number. What they say.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So
our finished product, I wish I'd have had the firming basket on. So we're having to plan a little deeper than what we wanted to, David, because we know it's going to settle just a little bit. I mean, we are doing tillage. Anybody out there that's listening really needs to take into account that conventional or strip till, or even with no till, there's just going to be some settling that takes place. And to get that proper germination depth, I'm assuming that's where the conversations have went. Can we ferment a little more than what we've been doing historically with the other closings or the other baskets? So I would like to see how that works, David. I'd like for you to take and, send me some data, or at least take some pictures or something. That would be great. I'm real interested in seeing how well it firms and gets rid of. Maybe slap that after the wheels went across it, and see how much firming is still yet to be done.
I was laughing because I was thinking I'll send you data when NCGA reports the yields. But
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say, what category do you want that in? Strip till irrigated or?
Man,
Sorry to gang up on you.
kicking a man while he's down. But regardless, King David, if you can take and send a picture after you run the strip till, but ahead of the planter, and just see how much it's actually firming. Do y'all have spring on that? Or you got hydraulic down pressure so you can adjust that? How does that control today?
So the unit that you have has our round bar basket on it, and it has a single spring, and our flat bar does as well. These are purposely designed heavy, so we have to have two springs on them just to counteract the weight of it. So it's purely mechanical, just the weight of the machine in the basket. So
I got you.
yeah, now we haven't run yet, Dowdy. We're still a little bit wet, so I'm hoping. Hey, hope's not a good strategy, but it looks like we have some dry weather still coming ahead, and so a little bit of heat. So barley might start running towards the end of the week, if not the end of the week, first of next week, and we will definitely be checking to see how it's firmed up. But like you said, Dowdy, how many times do guys go plant their crop and they can read that popsicle stick? They can read a tape measure. They know they're planted 1.75 inches, 2 inches deep, and then when they come back later and check, like we've checked it with Total Acre guys, and see after it's settled, 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches, and that's a problem. And I think you were planting yours a little deeper than you normally do.
Oh yeah, we started at 2.5, and by the time that we figured out that the V press wheels with the airbag in the back needed to be in float instead of any pressure. By the time we got them floating, David, 2.5 inches with the V press wheels with some down pressure from the airbags, we was ending up 1.5 inches to 1.75 inches. And then that's how much difference there was. And then obviously, how a V press wheel works. Even when it's centered, it's still not firm and flat. It kind of does this, the way that V is closing. And that drives me nuts, because where's the seed at in relationship to that wave in that V where it pinches that dirt together? And then we finally got to 3 inches. We were putting it 3 inches deep with the float position to have a final of 2.25. And I felt like we'd still have a 1/4 inch worth of settling. So, I mean, that's putting it down in the ground for sure. But we have plenty of heat units. But I mean, 3 inches to get 2.25, and you feel like it's still going to settle 1/4 inch. It's going to be interesting to see if we can firm that up with that wheel and eliminate some of that round bar or the flat bar just tillage that goes on. I'm thankful for leaving a seed bed, but I really need to firm it up. So that's on my wish list, Brent. We need to talk about how to try to get version 7 or 8. Do you have a way to monitor just pressure on the ground, if it's lifting or anything like that in the back? Have you thought about any of that just to see ground contact of that closing system at all?
yeah, well, we've got a lot of visual evidence of it running, and it's heavy enough that it does not move unless you hit a rock or something to bounce it up. So we don't know. I don't know. Our engineers probably do what the actual PSI pushing down is. And you can adjust the row unit with the airbag, and that basket is connected to the row unit. So even though that containment arm is just floating, you can get more pressure on it just by keeping the toolbar down in the ground.
Well, you got the right man vetting it. I mean, he's going to give you good feedback for sure. I mean, we've been talking about this subject for quite some time, and David, I'll be real interested to see how much you think you're gonna have to compensate in planting depth with the new closing wheel. So, or not the closing wheel, but the new press wheel. So it'd
Yeah.
be interesting.
Last year we had some, last year we had 4 rows that had the Furman basket on. I guess it was version 5 or 6. I'm not sure which version it was. And, this year we put it on all 16 rows now. So we won't have a check with the rolling baskets, but we clearly will have understanding on how deep we think we need to place a seed. And, that old slap method where you just take your hand and hit the soil to simulate rain event. We'll check that, and then, we'll see and trust but verify. I'm excited about seeing how it works out, because you could tell the rows. I mean, when, going behind the planter, doing lifting the closing system up, we run the furrow force, so pinning it up, we could see the difference in the sidewall itself. So that's, all that's kind of going to lead into a better seed bed and more accurate depth control, and then hopefully better, more uniform emergence. And I even think we kind of saw a little bit of that when crop came up, but not 100%. We planted, the rest of it a little bit deeper. Brent, I want to go back to the soil warrior. As a machine that can make seedbed preparation and then impregnate fertilizer, guys with added fertilizer costs like Randy talked about earlier, and just the sheer cost of the equipment, we know that there's probably going to be some return on investment for more uniform emergence. But then also, when we start talking about fertility, have y'all done much work there at Iowa State on fertilizer rates?
Well, so I am an Iowa State agronomy grad, so I'm glad that you keep plugging them, and we work with them on a weekly basis. But we do have equipment at Purdue, Oklahoma, North Dakota, Minnesota, Illinois. So we work with a lot of the land grant universities, and they all have the same equipment, so we get data from all of them. And the average kind of that they say we don't want to promote it because I don't want to get sued by anybody, cut back on your fertility, but they say anywhere from 20 to 40% you can ease off because you're getting that fertilizer right in the zone where the seed needs it and eventually where the plant's going to need it. So most of the data shows that 20 to 30% is a safe range.
Well, I'll go ahead and chime in. We did this work years ago with First Products. They had a banding rig. People that used to grow tobacco probably have seen something like that. They used to do it with old Gandy boxes years ago, and then First Products kind of come back out with something for a lot of the tobacco growers, and I think some watermelon people even used it as well. But banding fertilizer a little different way, and we did a bunch of work, David, and they even paid the University of Georgia to do some work, and they compared 100-pound broadcast versus 60% of that same rate broadcast banded as opposed to broadcast. So you have 100% broadcast rate versus 60% in a band. And then we took the full rate of 100% fertility and banded all of that. And the 60 pounds where we did the work replicated multiple times over years. Man, David, if I'm not mistaken, 60% was either even or 1 bushel nudge positive. So it's basically virtually the same with 40% less fertilizer. The only difference is it's just placed in the root zone, right? And then where we put the full 100%, strip tilled versus that, we did get some luxury feeding and some yield bump from it. I don't remember those exact numbers. I want to say they were 12 or 15 bushels, but the money piece of it was in that 40% reduction, especially in a year like this year. Taking the same fertilizer dollar, cutting out 40% of your cost, and using that money to help pay for the strip till apparatus, whatever piece of equipment that is. If it's a soil warrior, that'd be great. And taking that money to help service that piece of the debt by reducing fertility and still making the same yield and not giving anything up, that was big. And that's been kind of our message with Total Acre for years, is that people need to try it. Brent, are y'all still doing some? And I know this is a on the spot question, but I know y'all used to have a program to where guys could rent it for so much an acre as long as they put so many acres on it.
Yep.
Y'all
Yep.
still offer something like that?
We still offer that, and I tell you, in the last 2 years, it's become more popular than ever with the price of commodities being down. Guys not wanting to pull the trigger on a $300,000 or $400,000 machine until they know if it works. So yeah, we do rentals. It's 1,500 acre minimum, and you try it. If you don't like it, you send it back. If you do want to keep it at the end, or if you want us to build a certain one that's a little bit different than what you had, then you get a credit for most of that, if not all of the cost of that rental. Depends upon how soon you decide. So
So it's a 1,500 acre rental. What is it per acre?
depends upon the machine setup. So you get a real high end machine, 24 row, 22-inch machine, it may be up to $25 an acre, maybe as low as $20 an acre. So
Man,
that includes
that's a no brainer. Especially if you guys are going to do some kind of tillage anyhow. I mean,
Yep.
two
Yep.
passes, one, man, that's a no brainer. And people are out there listening and they're on the fence. What's the availability? We don't want to get out there and put something out there to people. You guys not have enough equipment. Do you have any options for people to be able to utilize this fall? Do you have some equipment out there available if they take you up on it?
Yeah, we have equipment available for spring if you need it. We probably got 30 used units that came over our rental fleet from trade-ins, which have gone through the shop, and we have probably 25 or 30 brand new machines sitting around. And we can build you a machine within a week usually. So if you need something that we don't have in stock, so
That's good. How do they go about getting it? I mean, do they need to go to their local John Deere, or how do they go about looking into this further?
go to soilwarrior.com and click the rental button.
Okay, that's easy enough. I didn't know that existed. So there you go.
Yep.
I learned something today too.
That's right. Well, I do know that from a standpoint of growers wanting to try it, because it is a big step there, Brent, for them to jump right into it and go buy it. And I think it is a great option because there have been growers across country that have tried it, and I know some in Delaware. They after they've tried it, they've turned around and bought it. And then there was a group of Total Acre guys where they didn't have 1,500 acres, but a group of them pulled together to where there was 1,500 acres in that area. So I don't think you just have to deal with one grower, do you?
Nope. We usually ask that one grower takes the lead in all the contracts with him, and then he divvies up the money between his partners. But that's quite common. We have that happen every year. As a guy wants to do 300 or 400 acres, and he gets a couple neighbors, and they come up to the minimum. So, and we'll work with people. I mean, if there's some reason they don't have 1,500 because they already did all their tillage, it's a negotiation. Anything in ag is so.
Well,
Yeah.
Brent, I've been playing with Soul Warrior. I think David came to the table maybe 1 year before I did on the Soul Warrior. I know we heard about it similarly, years ago back when I guess I first saw it in North or South Dakota out at the Hefty deal. But there's no doubt about it. David's branded. There ain't no doubt about it. He's green and he's going. I think he washes with Pioneer soap and John Deere wash rags, right? I think he's programmed. But I will definitely say this much. Between your staff, you and your staff, and I'm not a patronizing guy, but anytime I've had a question, anytime that I've had issues using equipment or just flat out not a full level of understanding for me and my people of, hey, got this problem. Soul Warrior and their staff have been amazing. You guys have went out of your way to make things happen. So if there's people on the fence about having support, about how to can they pull this off this spring? Can they make a last minute decision like this and get in it? Or if they're going to go out and buy one or vet it, you guys have never been the limiting factor that I've come in, with any issues in my farm. There's no doubt about it. Y'all have went above and beyond to make things happen and done a really good job. The product has performed, and I don't know who that goes back to. I don't know if that starts at the top or if it starts with you, Brent, or if it's just y'all hire good people. But Greg and them have really done a good job in supporting everything we've done. So I'm sure David can probably echo the same.
Yeah, I definitely would, Dowdy. I know Greg, he was at their place just before he came down to your place between vacations or going on vacation after. they service wise and just dealer support. I mean, just the support when we needed a part or something, it was there. Um, so there's not so many machines here, and we depend a little bit on UPS, but also they've been very supportive on making sure we have or parts stocked in the warehouse. So in case something were to happen, which hasn't really been a problem. But Brent, to your team, like Dowdy just said, thumbs up.
Yeah, we've got an excellent team, and we've got longevity there as well. Our first and second employees are both still with the company, and we've been building these since 2004, so 22 years now. I've been with them for 11, so I can only take half the credit. But it's an awesome team, and our service, they'll go 24/7 anywhere they need to go. Someone breaks down, 75% of our employees are from farms or have a connection to a farm, so they understand that time is of the essence and weather doesn't wait for anybody. So customers always first.
Well, you need to say that loud because there's a lot of people in the industry have forgot that message for sure. But David, we go back not just on our own farm, but all the way back to Mickey's farm. I mean, running a soil warrior there, when people said in the Midwest you couldn't do certain things with soil fertility, we 100% proved them wrong. With the yields that we were able to help with Mickey's help to help accomplish with the good Lord's help, and just changing the soil profile of fertility. Soul Warrior played a big role in that piece of it. And we've had them on TV shows for years. We've had them part of our Total Acre events. We've had Soul Warrior be a part of, obviously, our individual farms. And there's no doubt about it. They played a role in my success.
Well, I know when we were at one of the first planter clinics in Maricopa, Arizona, I think Brent and them brought a machine down there, and they didn't even have to take it back. Brent, I think you sold it while it was there in Arizona, did you not?
Yeah, that was the second time we were in Maricopa. The first year we took them both home. The second year we didn't have to haul it home. It just stayed. And that wasn't even an attendee. It was a guy driving by on the highway, and machine's still running now. So that was an awesome deal.
Yeah.
So
Well, I know I can speak for Randy, and well, I'm not going to speak for Randy, but I can speak for Redwood Farms. It's been part of their success from where we were when you first introduced it to us to where the yields have gone. Not to say that we weren't doing things right before, but we clearly have improved. And it's come, most of our yield gains have been coming from that uniform emergence. Because when I think about recreational tillage or some of this vertical tillage, guys are burying that trash right into the seed zone. And with the Soul Warrior, again, with those trash sweeps in the front, you're moving that residue and then you're just working up soil. So when you go to plant that seed and looking at Dowdy's, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to show some of the pictures of what Dowdy did down in Georgia on this podcast. So to where you can see it doesn't look like any trash is in that zone, Dowdy.
Yeah, there's very little, and what is right on the top, and the row cleaners can manage it. But for the volume of biomass that was above ground, I mean, it's done a really good job. The row cleaners did a fair amount of work, but between that and the colders, getting it below the seed zone, it's fine. There's no issues. It makes you wonder where it all did go, because I mean, there was quite a bit of residue out there for sure. And I know Greg and Brent we were on a three-way text, and Greg would send a picture, and I don't know, I think I was at Commodity or somewhere when Greg was out here helping my guys get it set up, and we were doing the Total Acre event, and they'd send me a video, and I'd get a thumbs up from Brent. I knew I had his approval once Greg had sent it. It looked good. So we're gonna get some more footage. Obviously, that farm had been strip tilled by the time the camera crew got here this week. Um, you know, it looked good. We're happy with the way it looks. Now we burned down yesterday 2 more farms, and we're going to try our best to, if we can get the last farm planted, we're going to unhook the planter. We got one tractor we're using that works with this Gen 5 with Ethernet, and that happens to be the strip till tractor. Woohoo! So we get to unhook the planter and go strip till some more acres, and we'll try to get some good footage there as well. But the residue is, it's not near as, it's probably thicker, but it's not as tall today. So we'll be able to go through. We're probably going to run through some of it green, believe it or not. So I'm anxious to see. I normally, there's a golden color or it's dead most of the time when I run it. So I'm anxious to see how it does through green cover crops. It's been sprayed, but they still got some life to them. Often that can make for turfiness, and a root ball that wants to hold on to some soil. So I'm anxious to see how the Soul Warrior is going to do there in that environment. I'll video there as well and try to get some feedback. So Brent, get the brain churning. You may ask Greg if we go through some green residue. There's a lot of people in Kentucky and Tennessee and different places that like to plant these 6-ways, 7-ways, 9-way cover crops for NRCS, and they like to plant and run their strip till rigs. They like to plant it green, like to run a strip till rig with the green. So I'm anxious to see if I'll have any issues or any struggles or any advice that you guys can offer for running it green. We normally we go through a killed or a dead cover crop. So I'm going to be interested to see what you have to say and see how it does.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that earlier about seeing the machine in South Dakota for the first time, because there's big South Dakota, Nebraska area that grows a lot of alfalfa. And when you need to kill an alfalfa field, you usually don't get a good kill the first spray. And they're running through 50% still crowns out there that are alive. And if you ever run the 3 coulter system, it'll chop those crowns up, and small enough so they're not affecting your planter ride. The row cleaners will kick them out of the way on the planter. With a shank and knife, you may have some clods pop up if you're running real green. You may not. Just depends upon the conditions of your soil at the time. So,
I got you. Well, we're looking forward to it. Hopefully, Lord willing, I just got a text. They blowing me up this morning. Just got a text. We got the part coming that we need. Had a wheel bearing go out on a wing wheel. There are no pull type planters anywhere in the Southeast that I know of. There's none at the factory, no parts in Atlanta. And the closest ones we could find Saturday when we were looking was Portland, Oregon. So I'm hoping they're pulling something off the Milan assembly line and sending it straight to us, David. They said something will ship today and it'll be here tomorrow. So I'm pessimistically optimistic that we're going to be able to start back running tomorrow. So I was getting blowed up there. I don't know if I lost my image there for a minute while Brent was talking, but I was trying to respond to a text. I'm on a podcast. So I'll call you back in a minute. So again, Brent, to you and your team, thumbs up. And if you're listening today and you're somebody that wants to do something different, this is the way, in my opinion. If you're going to cut back, you can't save your way to prosperity, but you can spend your way broke. And there's a fine line, and I get it. But one thing that I will tell you, that strip tilling for us, we've been able to cut back on some dollars, pay for that a piece of equipment, make similar or the same yields, and it's just been a great experience working with these guys. So if it's something that you're interested in doing, I would say 100%. Go to soulwarrior.com, check them out. The rental would be a way also to try to get into it and see without making that full-blown commitment. And I think once it runs on your farm, you're going to get an idea that it's not as intimidating and that there's some functionality there, that whether it's planting beans, whether it's strip tilling, helping warm that seed bed up, manage some residue, or just placing fertilizer, there's a lot of boxes being checked there.
Yeah. Well, and Brent, without dittoing everything Dowdy just said, which I clearly could, you and I, we go way back. We've created a great friendship, and then now Rimwood and Total Acre and myself have created a partnership with and with the ETS group. And man, really appreciate you being on the podcast today, Mr. Brent, and as you're recovering from all your injuries.
Well, I appreciate you having me, and it's been great working with both you and Randy, and hope to keep that partnership going for years to come.
Looking forward to it. Now, just make sure we sabotage his machine in the strip till category. That way, I can have a chance. I need to pay Greg off.
There you go. All right. Be careful what you wish for now, Dowdy.
I'm kidding. Competition's fun, but it's never taken that seriously to where you would wish harm on anybody. But all jokes aside, the farming world we live in today is uncertain, and we got to make some money, and that's the part that I think this is going to be something people should consider for sure.
I would agree. So, Dowdy, it's always a pleasure to have a podcast with you with Breaking Barriers with R&D. And I know you got a lot on your plate. And first and foremost, we just be careful, because a lot of times we have a tendency to do things that, we get in a rush, and may God bless the seeds that you sow.
Yes, sir. You too. And be safe. I know you're working on a planter, trying to get it ready. Just be careful. Don't take any chances there. And we take a lot of chances along the way. So be careful. Brent, I'm glad your voice held out. I know you were kind of concerned last week. I'm glad it held out, and I wish you a speedy recovery from everything that you've been going through.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks again, fellas.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again soon for another new episode of Breaking Barriers with R&D. Be sure to like and subscribe. And remember, all episodes are available on Farm Journal TV and anywhere podcasts are found.